All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the last mental wellness talking circle for the spring 24 semester. It's been a long day for me. Oh my gosh. But I'm really glad to be here with y'all for the last session for a little bit. You know how those mental wellness talking circles go, but I'm pretty sure y'all know our amazing guest here who has been leading these sessions for the past 2 semesters, honestly, with the coaching program, Jacelyn Salabye. And just as a reminder, like I said, this is going to be recorded. I already told you, and any student responses or if you come off camera or anything will be edited out and when we do the edits and everything. And then yeah, I'll come back in. I'm gonna, take myself out just so that you guys can, if you need to share anything or if anything prompts you, I won't be here. You can be as transparent as you want to with Jacqueline here. But yeah, I'm really excited to have y'all here for the last session, and I don't want to take too much time. But Jacqueline, I'm gonna give the floor to you, and I'll come in like when we're kind of going towards the end, and I'll give out the event evaluation for y'all to fill out. Make sure that you're filling those out once we conclude with the event. But yeah, thank you so much. I'll see y'all soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Adriana. A little disclaimer, I've been um, on an 8-hour training, co-facilitating, so my words might not come out like I want them to. So be patient with me. I'm going to try my best to move through tonight's presentation um, and wellness circle. And so, like Adriana was saying, my name is Jacelyn Salabye. Kia ani nashla tachi ibashishti kabaha edishiche do twititi edishanala. My name is Jacelyn Salabye. I come from I am Dene. My first clan is Towering House, and that is who I am. Um, I am born for Red Running into the Water clan, and my maternal grandfather is um, Edgewater, and my paternal grandfather is Bitterwater. And so that is who I am as a Dene woman. Little background about myself. I've been a social worker for 15 years. I was born on the Navajo Nation, and I'm originally from the southwestern part of the Navajo Nation, a little place called um, Greasewood, Lower Greasewood. And I was raised elementary, high school in a border town, and I currently live in a border town called Flagstaff, Arizona. And so, as for my profession, I'm a social worker. Of course, 15 years plus, and then 10 years specifically working with grants, suicide prevention, and coalition building and community-based participatory models. And so that is who I am. I'm a mother first and foremost. I have 3 children, ranging from 4 years old to 21 years old. And what else is there to know about myself? I think that's it for now. um, and I'm going to share my screen and talk to you about, let's see, stress management and the importance of why we talk about stress management and mental health. As you know, mental health plays a big role in who you are and the decisions that we make, right? And so I really like to talk about and advocate for mental health because a lot of the times people think that, oh, it's just for people who are um, bipolar or crazy or, this and that. And so there's a big stigma around mental health in terms of how people view it and how people think about it. Mental health is basically um, an essential part of you, essential part of your being. Um, and we'll go into it a little bit more in detail as we talk about today's session. And so I really like to preface before we go into detail about creating safety and um, a good environment to be in, right? I like to make sure that we discuss and encourage a safe space. That being said, judgment, try to keep it at the door. I know it's easy to judge people, it's easy to judge ourselves. So be aware of that when you come in, leave it at the door. Um, what's said here stays here. Whatever is said by anyone here, whatever stories are shared, they stay here. And when you leave them here. We're not going to be sharing information outside of tonight's session. Respect. Um, I know respect is very important. The way we treat people, the way we treat others, having that sense of respect for ourselves as well is very important. And then listening. I know we're on Zoom and it might be tough. I know you'll have other things happening around you and in your homes or your dorms or wherever you may be, and that might cause some distraction. And I encourage you to take time to listen, be present, and participate. I know that I get distracted very easily, like a phone call, you know? I'm like, oh no, it's ringing. Oh, I have to get it. So I just like to preface that before we start, and then moving into the wellness circle. So how I conduct the wellness circle is basically creating a sense of safety through being in a circle physically, right? When I co-facilitate or I'm out in the field, I do a lot of work with tribal nations across the country. My full-time job, I'm a grantee technical assistant with a company called Tribal Tech. And I go out across the nation and provide guidance and facilitation to various entities and various grant programs and various communities looking towards healing of historical trauma and generational traumas. So that is a little bit more of a piece of what I do. And most of the times when we go into community, we like to conduct our sessions in a circle. And that's the way I like to do things, even when working at urban Indian healthcare centers. I used to do that with my teams. I used to have them sit around in a circle and we would talk about things and we would have staff meetings in that way instead of it being around a table or, kind of making sure that we see each other because we spend a lot of time with one another, right? 8 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, that's 40 hours in your week. And same with school. You see your classmates again and again. You spend a lot of time with them. So we're going to do the same approach. We're going to sit in a circle. And if you could imagine yourself sitting next to someone else, it just gives a sense of a home and a sense of comfort when I do that and when I'm with the community. And so I want you all to come together and imagine yourself in that way. And if we could have individuals provide in the chat or come off mute and introduce yourself, that would be great. If you could provide your name, your tribe or clan, provide where your homeland is. I provided where my homeland is. You might be in a different place in a space, and that's okay. Where did you go in terms of where do you go in terms of your school? Where do you go? And what do you want to be? The last time I put, what do you want to be when you grow up? But I changed it. What do you want to be when you finish your class or when you finish your certificate or when you finish your program or you graduate with a diploma? What do you want to be? And it can change and it can be something that's more tangible in terms of like, I want to be a good mother or I want to be an awesome beater, or, it could be anything. And then lastly, how do you have fun? I encourage fun, encourage, having good times with our family, friends, community, boyfriends, girlfriends, whoever, having fun. And that's important to talk about. So if you'd like to come off mute or put in chat, provide your brief introduction. And I'm going to try to modify how I see you all. Who would like to go first? And if you're okay and you don't want to share, that's totally fine with me too. You don't have to. But I think it's just a very good opportunity to create connections. I see that you came on camera. Do you want to introduce yourself? That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking that healthy risk to be the first one to share. Who else would like to introduce themselves? Thank you for sharing. Appreciate you. Your introduction in the chat, and it sounds like you like to turn on some music very loud, dance and sing. So there's some commonalities there. That's awesome. Thank you for your introduction. Okay, who else would like to introduce themselves? Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Your question, how can I improve myself? We're going to talk about that a little bit more. And so I appreciate you bringing that up in terms of how it applies to you. That's awesome. Thank you. I see another individual in the chat who is in Oregon. Awesome. Working on your bachelor's degree at Northwest Indian College. Awesome. And you work in wildlife at Yakima. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for introducing yourself. It's really important if you take a look at the chat. This is a piece that I really encourage, is read other people's chat messages and provide some encouraging words, provide some, just some words, and see how what they have in common with you. Networking in college is key. Networking in Indian country is key because you're building those collaboration efforts already. And I cannot tell you how many times I've come across an individual that I met 5 years ago, and it could have been on a Zoom call, it could have been anywhere, and I'm like, yeah, I remember you you used to work here, and they really do remember. And so starting to build those collaborations and those connections is really important. Seminole Nation of Oklahoma, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and going to school at Saginaw Chippewa Tribal College. Awesome. Thank you. I love like all of your introductions, and I always like to see and hear where you're from, especially hearing. I like to hear the language. It makes me proud of, being a part of this. Who else would like to introduce themselves? Thank you for your introduction. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I really like to hear the origin of individuals' names and a lot of stories about our culture and our different tribes, bands, and pueblos, and Alaska Native. So beautiful. Take a look at the chat again. We have introductions. Who is in her homeland in New Mexico, Massachusetts. And she is attending online education with Fielding Graduate University. Wants to be a principal or school board member and have fun staying home and having grandkids come over to visit. Awesome. That sounds great right now. I keep saying I always annoy myself when I say that. Let's see. I recognize some of your names from previous meetings and previous sessions, so it's good to see you all back. From the Navajo Nation, from Rock Point, Arizona, and pursuing education at Navajo Technical University. An ultimate goal is to establish a business that will cater to the needs of Navajo teachers by providing them with essential resources. Awesome. That's a great goal to have. She forgot to say that she's going towards her bachelor's in early childhood multicultural education. Something fun that she likes to do is learn Cherokee here at UARC. Very fun, so I can take it back to my family. Oh, wow, that's cool. I didn't know they provided that there. That's awesome. If I missed you, I'm sorry. My scrolly thing on the side is having a rough time. Is anybody else would like to come off mute and introduce themselves? I think we got a majority of individuals set. If you don't want to, that's totally fine as well. Like I said earlier, I don't want to pressure you. Just like to make sure we're not missing anyone. Okay, and I will answer the rest of those questions. That's cool. That's funny you say Pilates because I was encouraging coworkers to do Pilates, and I had one coworker actually participate in it, and he came back to me and was like, "What is this? Why did you make me do this?" I'm like, "Good. It challenges you in a good way." So yeah, I love Pilates. I love yoga. I love all of those stretches and trauma-informed yoga. It's all amazing and awesome. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, yes, I would love to try that. That's on my bucket list, actually. I haven't had time to do it, but we were talking about it um, a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, that would be really fun to do hot yoga. Yeah. Okay, so we have a new person. Welcome to the group. We just finished up introductions. If you'd like to introduce yourself, you can come off mute and answer these questions, provide your name, your homeland, where you go to college, what you want to be when you finish, or just in general, what do you want to be? And then how do you have fun? Awesome. Thank you for sharing. It's okay. It's all good. I know we have busy schedules and it's finals coming up and everything else, right? I totally understand. So we're going to move into this part of the session where you provide some information, and this part of the session will be edited out. So don't worry about information being shared. So this part, name one stressor you currently experience and how you cope with it. And so, for example, I will use one stressor, time management. And so then I would provide a way that I cope with scheduling my time or how I'm addressing that issue. So it could be healthy or not healthy, and this is where the non-judgment comes in. We understand that we're not all perfect. We understand that we have faults. We understand that we might fall off here and there. And so sometimes we do have those unhealthy coping mechanisms, right? In the way we address things. And that can be good. It can be bad. It can be losing my thoughts here. So just keep that in mind as we move forward, that they can be healthy and or unhealthy. So does anybody like to come off mute and share? What is one stressor that you're currently experiencing and how are you coping with it? Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, time management is an interesting concept because it's a Western perspective, right? We as Indigenous people, we are accustomed to going by the time of day. We're accustomed to what needs to be done in preparation for items such as, the fire or food, or, there's a specific reason why we're doing those things. So when it comes to time management in terms of, the Western clock, in terms of deadlines we have to meet, in terms of papers that are due, sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's hard to really grasp that and look at that. And so when I was a student many years ago, um, I would hold on to, my planners and my notebooks, and I would jot down all the dates in my notebook, and I would go by that. I would get all the dates for my syllabus and the deadlines and whatever I needed to do and put them in my calendar, my planner, right? So really taking that into perspective, and I had a hard time really trying to grasp that concept of time, which was really interesting. So don't beat yourself up. And you like the words that you were saying, you were pulling through, and you understand that you're not alone. And your tribe or your college has resources available um, to assist you. And it's really looking at that procrastination, right? And I want you all to put some helpful tips for yourself or for each other in the chat of how you handle procrastination. I think this is a really good discussion because every one of us faces procrastination, right? Whether it's TikTok and sitting here scrolling, um, if it's hanging out with friends and you want to do that instead of um, your paper, or, life happens. And it's like, oh, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. I'll do that later. So, what are some ways? I'm going to look at the chat real quick and read off some of these. Let's see. So, sometimes something, and if that's okay, if you have to leave early, that's okay. I try to use the Pomodoro technique. Yes, I know you mentioned that last time, and that's really awesome that you're bringing that up again. Can you share a little bit about the Pomodoro technique? Thank you for that. And I noticed that he kind of had said the same thing, that I use the block schedule work for 25 minutes, 5 minutes for breaks until task is done. I think it's really important that setting a timer and setting some intentions on, focus time to do certain tasks throughout the day is very important. Getting burnt out, constantly busy with work, school, family, church, and family. Okay, that was one of the stressors. We'll come back to that one. For procrastination, I use a timer. I would work for 45 minutes and take 5 to 10 minute breaks. I try to keep my mind fresh and motivation going. Sometimes when I'm on a deadline, I'll use my phone timer and I will set, like 30 minutes, and then or whatever time I need, and I'll just go at it and just do as much work as I can within those 30 minutes. And then I'll take a break and I'll be like, okay, let me go eat, or let me go get a drink. Let me go follow up on what I need to do, right? Whether it's family or emails or whatnot. And then I'll come back and then I'll set another timer for my break, right? 15 minutes, I'll set 15 minutes. Okay, go do my stuff. Then I'll come back when my timer's done and I'll be like, okay, time to focus again. I'm gonna set it for 30 minutes and go as much as I can in that 30 minutes. Yeah, that's a great, great point. And I think that helps to answer the question about burnout, and really looking at how much time you are giving to certain areas, right? Like the comment in the chat I saw from about being burnt out, constantly busy with work, school, family, church, and then extended family piece of gold there in terms of outlining your day. And yeah, it might um, be too much for some people, but for others, it might be a really helpful tool in terms of how you're spending your day. And that's really important when it comes to self care and identifying your stress and balancing out those many areas that we have in our lives, right? So, moving back to the chat, I see some um, input in there. I said I'm going to use that method. Awesome. And then juggling between demands, responsibilities, and adapting to change can be quite overwhelming for me. I have a part-time job as a teacher, and on top of that, I also hold the position of community chair at our school. We are currently preparing for a week-long series of festivities scheduled to take place in just 2 weeks. The pressure of finalizing all the details and making necessary changes has been causing me to procrastinate on my schoolwork. About a month ago, I had to create a weekend schedule. On Saturdays, I dedicate the entire day to preparing for work, making sure everything is in order and organizing for the upcoming week. Sundays, on the other hand, are solely dedicated to my schoolwork. I use this day to focus on studying, completing assignments, and getting ahead in my academic pursuits. By dividing my weekend in this way, I'm able to manage both my professional and educational responsibilities. Yes, time management is basically preparation for your day, right? What does your day look like tomorrow? And I have constantly thinking about that, even sitting down tonight and prepping your day and writing it out. I used to use those planners that were divided into 15-minute increments. And I used to be a parent aide, and I used to supervise like child protective service visits. And so I would work a lot with parents and would be picking up kids and, just doing this and that pertained to the workload and meeting with different people. Um, and so that required me to be very focused on my time, because if I was late for a court hearing, if I was late to meet with probation or an attorney, what does that look like for myself, right? So really putting my day in those 15-minute increments and how I'm spending it, making sure I'm writing in important pieces of time, which includes food, water, exercise, right? Family. Let's see. We have more in the chat. Said school extracurriculars and research all build up together, causing stress on me at certain times. I usually hang out with friends and take some time for myself when needed to mitigate the stress. That's very true. Question for you. How do you handle procrastination? Do you have any tips for time management in terms of um, your schoolwork and just juggling so many different things? Because I know you're in medical school, and do you have any tips for time management? Awesome. And yeah, that was the fourth one, right? Sleep. Some people can function on 5 hours of sleep, which is great. Some of us need 8 hours of sleep to fully function. I'm one of those people because I cannot do anything less than 8 hours. Otherwise, I will be just totally out of it. I can't think straight. My words come out all jumbly. And it just causes me to stress out because I don't know where anything is, and everything's just a disarray, right? So being aware and being cognizant of what you need, what you are doing, and what you need to do, I think has a good point in terms of writing down what you are doing in a week, at least a week, and really seeing how much time you're committing to these each one of these areas, right? I know that feeling burnt out and overwhelmed, Vina, in terms of your life and your family, your school, your work, maybe taking that week to really write down what you're doing throughout the day. Um, and maybe possibly thinking about the areas that you're spreading yourself too thin, right? And learning how to say no. That's hard for some of us. I know that I had a hard time dealing with that and learning how to say no and standing up for myself and my time. My time is really important. Um, cool, awesome. I really appreciate all of your uh, input, your words, and you sharing. So take some of this information, use it, put it to use, create some action out of it. I want to see if I missed anybody. Okay, we're going to move into the next portion, and we got about 20 minutes, so I want to go through this. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know and you can come off mute. Let's see. So, stress. We talked about stress. And I think every one of you know what stress is in terms of basically the physical reactions that our body has to a certain event or um, a certain piece of our life. And so, looking at stress and how that impacts us, there's certain types of stress, positive, tolerable, and toxic, right? And positive stress can really be something that's a small change, right? And you talked about adapting to change, I saw in the chat. That could be maybe a tolerable stress, that's something that is not too big, but you're taking some time to get used to it, right? And positive stress can be something that's kind of small, like a new job or like coming into a new space like school or a new baby could be a positive stress because it's new and it's a change. Tolerable is a stress that might take a little bit more time to adapt to. It might take your body a little bit longer to recover from. That might be a relationship. It could be um, just a certain life event that you're going through. Toxic stress, that could be something that's related to like consistent abuse or neglect. This could be seen in some of the childhood traumas that we or any of our people might face. And so that takes a long period to get over some of those stressors or those reactions that we have experienced as a result of stress, right? And so those can be long lasting and those can last long term. And so you look at all these studies like the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experience studies, and they talk about this a lot, right? Talk about people who've been abused or they have this questionnaire. Have you been abused? Have you been sexually abused? Have you been neglected? Have you experienced certain dysfunctions in your family? So they ask these questions. And if you rate a high score, like say a 6, um, you have a higher likelihood of others compared to others. You have a higher likelihood to experience some chronic diseases or some adverse effects that you see later on in life. And I have seen, many different family members who have experienced trauma in their life, who lost a family or a parent at a very, very young age, um, who witnessed that violence and who are now currently dealing with things like diabetes and chronic stress and aches and pains in the body, mental health issues like depression, anxiety. And those play out differently in many different people, right? My stress, my anxiety, my depression might look different from yours, right? And the way I handle maybe a loss of a parent at a young age might be different from you. And so, really taking that into consideration that our stress reactions might be different. They might be the same, but they might come out different, right? And so, what are examples of managing? What are some of the examples of managing your stress? And you talked about some of these areas a little bit in terms of time management. We talked a little bit about, juggling all those different things that we have in our lives. And I want to go back to what was said by, I'm trying to remember your name. Sorry, I have to look back at my notes. About, how we are addressing looking at ourselves, right? We're really looking at pulling through and thinking about, how we are not alone. And I want to pull up an important piece out. And you said you have a hobby about going to hand games, right? And you participate in hand games, and that's a cultural event that takes place. And I think for a lot of us, we have some cultural responsibilities. We have some clan responsibilities that we have to partake in. And those are really important to us. And so I really want to stress that, how do we take care of ourselves? How do we manage our stress? How do we know we are stressed out? And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about. Um, and I like to really reference the medicine wheel and the circle of life. And so when I say the circle of life, I'm referencing the outside of that medicine wheel, just kind of the trajectory of our lives and where we start when we're born and kind of moving into adolescence, moving into adulthood, and moving into our elderhood. Um, there's certain phases, certain ceremonies, certain songs, certain teachings that we learn throughout our circle of life, right? And so being really cognizant and aware of where you are and where you stand in terms of that circle of life, because you might be frustrated in terms of what is happening, but also experiencing that change and moving into the next phase. Those can kind of be stressful, and those can be a change in your life, but understanding that, you know, from an indigenous approach, we had a way to cope, right? We had ceremonies that tested our patience. I know in Dine, when you go through your Chinalta, it's a 4-day ceremony for young women, girls to go through to become a young woman. And you get tested through various actions and activities and running and having that endurance, and everyone's around you supporting you, telling you these things, encouraging you along the way, right? You don't do this, you need to do this, you need to focus on this, make sure you sit up straight, make sure you stand up straight, make sure you do this, go ahead and clean. And they teach you how to become a strong, resilient person, right? And so there's certain songs that are sung, there's certain words that are said, there's certain actions that are made. And so really understanding those processes and how that is played out in our circle of life as Indigenous people. So having those conversations with either your mom or your dad, your grandparents, to really start to understand where you fit into that, helps to really manage our stress and helps to understand how we coped with our stress um, before Western society was really entrenched in our daily lives. So that was the point made there. Self-care. Self-care is advocating for your health and wellness, stepping up and saying, I deserve to be healthy, so therefore I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, right? Self-care can be a number of mini steps that you take to reach a big goal. When I say mini steps, I'm going to use physical health, for example. Physical health. So I'm going to use nutrition. I'm going to make baby steps in my nutrition to get to eat a healthier diet, right? So I'm going to incorporate more grains, or, these mini steps that you create in order to get to that one goal. So I like to use the 8 dimensions of wellness. I always talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, not just here, but in my everyday work. We talk about the physical, social, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, environmental, financial, and occupational. And each part of these comprises who you are, right? So we each have these little component areas that blend in and they work together. They're interdependent of one another. And so in order to fully function, you have all these different spheres, right? That play into your life. And so what I like to do as a self inventory, I use kind of the thought of these 8 areas. I kind of just pull them up in my mind and I think about, what are the things that I need to do in each one of those areas? How do I improve in each one of these areas? And then I start to think about what am I inviting into each one of these areas? Because we could be, thinking that, we're doing all these great things in our financial life, right? Our financial sphere. But when we sit down and we really think about it and we really look at our finances, and it's like, okay, I need to improve in this area because, I'm getting, I have a bunch of NSFBs for the month of April. And how did I do that? And I spent like $300 in NSFBs, right? Like, whoa, that's a lot when I really sit down and add it up. So, what are some of the goals? Is it creating little bits of a budget? Is it creating a skeleton budget? Is it creating a more in-depth budget? Is it writing down everything that you are spending for a whole week? I actually did that once, and it was amazing how much I spend on food. So, really setting up those goals, writing down the to-do list, which is basically mini bites on how you get to your goal, right? Writing down those overarching priorities. What are the priority areas? If I'm looking at this and doing my self inventory and I have a bunch of things that keep popping up in my emotional sphere, I'm going to make that as my main priority because something is showing me right there, right? You have all these things. I need to focus on that. The other part of this is in terms of priority is what are you prioritizing in your life? Example, writing down everything and really taking a look at yourself. And you're spending a lot of time on sitting down watching Netflix. Say you spent 3 hours today, you spent an hour tomorrow, the next day you spent 3 hours. Like, that's a lot of time that could be broken into something different, right? It's not to say that you can't take the time out, um, but really managing your time and identifying where you're falling into, you know, what we're talking about today, time management, procrastination, and all that stuff we're talking about today. And then really thinking about self control. If I say I'm going to do something, I got to do it. Really setting those time limits. If I have to say no, I have to say no. Friends inviting me out to dinner. I'm sorry, I have to write this paper. How about next week? Someone comes over, relatives, hey, I need to study. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to tell, you can talk with so and so in here, but I'm going to be in here focused on my work. Really setting those healthy boundaries for yourself so you're not getting stressed out. If people are asking you, hey, we're having a potluck on Sunday for church. Can you bring a case of water, some potato salad, and some pasta salad? I can run to the store prior to and pick it up if that's what you want. But really, I'm going to say no because I don't even have time to go to the store. I'm catching up on my rest, and then I'm going to get ready, and then I'm going to go to church. So I don't have time to do that. I'm sorry. Maybe ask me in next week, right? And so really setting those guidelines and putting those boundaries in place, setting up that self-control and understanding that you need to be gentle with yourself. Just because you don't provide food for the potluck for church on one day doesn't make you a bad person. Just because you're setting healthy boundaries for yourself in terms of studying and taking time out for yourself does not make you a bad person. Saying no does not make you a bad person. And being gentle with yourself and understanding that is really important to practicing that self-care and not beating yourself up. So that's a little bit of piece of self-care. And she talks about unplugging from social media, getting a massage, hanging out with friends and family, and going outside, pray and burn medicine. And those are all other pieces of self-care. Yes, those fall in line. Exactly. And I practice that same one, social media. getting off of Facebook because it was taking up a large amount of my time and my focus. And so I told myself, nope, we're going to delete that and get rid of that because it's taking up too much time. Going outside and praying, yes, and burning medicines or partaking in your traditional medicines is really important. This slide is basically talking about the stress thermometer and then adding in some of the ways that people express their stress. When people are stressed out, they can not focus easily, right? Easily get irritated or angry, start yelling at the people in front of you in your car, right? You can't sit still, you're fidgety, you have difficulty sleeping, you feel sad or guilty, you worry, you cry, you feel very tired, and you have changes in appetite. And these are major indicators that you're burnt out as well, right here. All of these things just show that you are stressed and you need to take time out for yourself to start to mend some of these areas, start to create a time management, start to say no, start to understand that you need self-care, exercise, eating good, getting some sleep, getting some rest. And another part of this is understanding what you look like when you're stressed out. When you're not stressed, when you're happy, what do you look like? When you're a little stressed, what do you look like? Am I like kind of fidgety and like, oh my God, what do I do? And like you're freaking out. When you're moderately stressed, are you angry? Are you crying? Do you easily cry? When you're very stressed, if someone asks you a question and then all of a sudden it's like bad day for the rest of the day, and your heart rate's up, you're super angry. Writing that out is really important. I do a self-regulation tool, thermometer, because I go to counseling and I do take that seriously. And so when I get dysregulated, I know where I stand and I know what I need to do to like bring myself back and center myself. So really important. I know we're coming up with 5 minutes, and I'm glad you will use the information that you learned today. We really want you to be successful and to be well and healthy as you go forward in your career and your life. That's really important. So we're talking about time management, and a bit of information in terms of how to create your time management tool, or just basically focus on time management, is number one, commitment. Committing to your time, committing to your calendar, committing to writing it down in a notebook. That's really important, because if you just write it all down, what's it worth if you don't commit to it? We talked about pursuing fun. We talked about that, Andres, in terms of getting the work done, and then, or was it getting the work done and then taking 5 minutes out to experience some time out, right? And Synpaxing talked about that. It said, take 25 minutes and then 5 minutes for a break. 25 minutes, 5 minutes, do something fun. That's really important. And when you accomplish something, do something fun, right? Celebrate, go out to dinner, or, make dinner, or spend time with your kids. Do what you love to do. Time versus task focus. We talked a little bit about that. The amount of time that we spend on a certain project versus listing out the tasks and what you need to focus on. That's really important as well, because we could be dedicating 15 minutes to a project, but if we don't focus on the tasks at hand, what's the point, right? And so really writing down in your agenda or your calendar what you need to focus on in that area is really beneficial. What are the priority areas, right? I need to focus on chemistry. Priority area, research paper, right? One thing at a time. We discussed that. Don't jumble it all into too much. Don't spread yourself thin. Block out time. We talked about that. First things first. What are the priorities? flexibility. And I talked about this a little bit in terms of don't beat yourself up. Um, Take gentle care of yourself, your thoughts. They really play a big role in how you address things. You know, saying things that are not helpful, like beating yourself up, saying, you know, calling yourself names that is not healthy. So making sure that you're putting in some flexibility in terms of your schedule is really important. Respond versus react. How do you respond in a healthy way? And versus how are you reacting to something? Is it anger? Um, is it freaking out? So really responding first and saying, you know what, it'll be okay. Let me refocus and get this done. And then organization, I think we talked about that a little bit. Preparation, organization, in terms of time management, writing it down, looking at it from an eagle eye view, everything that you need to get done, and then plugging those in, right? And then we have a brief example of grounding and unhooking. So there's been a lot of discussion about stress and managing that. And there's a small exercise that you could do. I'll do it with you. Let's say we're stressed out. Say we're thinking about, you know, I'm not studying enough. I need to focus on that. I need to do it now. Um, and what does that feeling evoke? So if you can think about it right now, perhaps just taking one of your stressors and thinking about that now. How is that making you feel? And what are your thoughts pertaining to it? I'm going to think about one right now that um, I was dealing with today. Identify the feeling, yes. And what am I thinking? Okay, I got it. And then the next step is to slow down and start to connect with your body. Start to think about your body and do a scan. You're going to go from your head. How does your head feel? Where is it at? Do you have a little bit of a headache, a little tension? Where are the tensions? Go down to your eyes, your nose, your ears, your mouth, your neck. Is your neck feeling stiff? I know some of us we hold our stress in our back, in our neck area, right? And start to really identify, where am I holding? Where am I clenching? Is there some pain there? Because a lot of the times our body tells us that there's something wrong, right? And when we feel pain or uneasiness, that's an indicator that, hey, you need to address this. Something's going on. Feel your shoulders. Are they feeling a little bit up here? Feel your chest. Is your chest doing okay? Is it short of breath? And slowly breathe in out and out as you're going through. And feel your arms, feel your hands. I know some of us are quick to clench, right? We do this a lot of the times because we're so stressed out. Some of us sleep like that. And I noticed a couple of months ago, I was sleeping like this. And that was a big indicator that something was going on, right? So when you sleep, try to remember to loosen up your hands and your toes, your shoulders, your stomach, your hips. Remember to loosen that up and let it be known to your body, like, okay, we're going to sleep with our hands open. We're not going to clench. And then take note if you wake up and your hands are clenched. That's a really good exercise to do because I've been doing that as well. And so slowly breathe in, breathe out as you move through your body. And then, you know, take note of your stomach. I know some of us might have stomach issues because of, you know, ulcers, because of stress. It might be, we might experience indigestion. Take note of that. Take note of when it happens. Write it down, jot it down. Our stomachs, our hips, the pain that we might have in our hips, our legs. Are we having some sort of aches in our feet? Have we been on our feet all day, or have we been experiencing pain in our feet? Are we clenching our feet? Make sure you stretch them. Make sure to breathe. And as you go through your body, really start to unclench and relax each one of those areas because it will really help you, right? And then slowly stretch them out, like I was talking about. Stretch out your hands, stretch out your arms, stretch out your legs, your feet, and do a nice, what do you call that? Salute to the sun with your hands up. And if you want to push your feet into the floor, push your feet into the floor and do that. And really breathe in and out, take a deep breath. So after you're done doing all of that, you're recognizing the tension, you're recognizing these clenching in your body. Release those. Start to think about those different areas. You can do this with your eyes closed, your eyes open, and start to release those areas and stretch them out. If you're feeling tension in your neck, start to stretch those out. And then the other way you can refocus as part of this, after you're done doing that, is you're focusing on the world around you. And this can help with anxiety. It can help you to understand what feelings you're feeling, is by using your five senses. Looking at what you're seeing in front of you, because sometimes we dissociate, right? We think about, oh yeah, I'll get to that later. But really understanding what you're seeing in front of you, it helps to work on clutter. It helps to work on cleanliness. It helps to work on what is going on in front of me, right? What is in front of me? What am I seeing? What am I inviting into my environment? What is around me? And then starting to hear, listen to what those sounds are. And it's really starting to ground you. What am I hearing? I hear a fan. I hear something in the distance. I don't know what it is, but I hear it. I hear someone walking. I hear a little bit of talking. And then taste. Maybe you were snacking on something, or maybe you're just sitting here listening. But what are you tasting? Take a minute to taste a little bit. And then what am I smelling? Take a minute to smell. Use your nose for a minute. And then touch. What am I touching? What am I feeling? Take a minute to touch something. Touch fabric or your skin or your leg or your chair or your pencil or your paper. This really helps to refocus and bring some mindfulness in centering your body of where you stand and where you are right now. And this is really good if you have anxiety. I know this is taught, and sometimes I use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 rule, where I identify something out in the distance, way out in the distance, and identify that as 5. And I come back in closer, 4, and I come back into the building, 3, and then I come back into my room, 2, and I come right back in front of me, 1. And that helps me to center myself in addressing anxiety or any tension that I might have. So that is the grounding and unhooking activity. And just a brief information about the resources that are presented to you today. The time management information, the self-care plan, doing what matters in times of stress is really a good tool. It's like 180 pages, which is crazy, but it has a lot of good information. And that last activity that we did is actually in that booklet. Stress thermometer, and then the 8 dimensions of wellness. If you need that information, you can gladly put it into the chat. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time and for your patience, and take the time to do the survey. We really appreciate you and your words and areas of improvement or areas for suggestions for next presentation. So with that, thank you for being here, and put your email in the chat, or if you want a direct message, you can, and then I can just send that to you if that's helpful. Or Adriana said we'll connect and share that information too. So either way, they both work. But have a happy May 1st. Today is May 1st. Get those finals out of the way, manage your time, do some self-care. You are important, you are awesome, you are worthy, and you deserve to live a healthy and well life. So with that, appreciate you all. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for
Mhm.
hosting us through these past couple semesters with the Mental Wellness Talking Circle. I hope you all really enjoyed the last few presentations, well, all the presentations, honestly. But yeah, thank you so much, Jacqueline. Just want to say thank you on behalf of the College Success Coaching team, as well as all the scholars who have been here for the live sessions and those who might have seen the recording videos. We always get a lot of really good feedback, and this is one of our most popular events, honestly, that everybody always looks forward to. So thank you, Jacelyn. Thank you so much. But yes, thank you all so much for being here. I know that this time may be a little busy for a lot of people. We got finals coming up. Some of you might have already taken them. Some of you might have graduated already. You know, graduations are coming up. Some of you might have some really cool trips coming up. Looking forward to the weekend, or just having some time to kind of just, you know, be in yourself, be in your own space, and really take care of yourself, and, you know, enjoy the last couple of weeks or final semesters, quarters of whatever this spring or summer might look like for you. But yeah, thank y'all so much. I did post the event evaluation in the chat. I'll go ahead and paste that again. Please don't forget to do those. Those are really appreciated, and we you know, we really look at all the feedback. It's been a long day for me. But yeah, we'll be giving out some incentive, or what is it called? Gift cards. So please fill out the event evaluation, and we'll, you know, choose a few. We'll do like a randomization of people to give out those. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely connect with Jacqueline to get a list of resources that she might have shared throughout these sessions to all of y'all who might be interested in using them. And yeah, just have a great rest of your evening. Get some food, go outside, get a fresh breath of air, go drink some water. If you're not having allergies, go get a fresh breath of air. I know it's having a lot of struggles with allergies, but I hope you all have a
Oh,
really
I
good
know.
rest of your evening, week, and we'll see you at the next session. Thank you.